Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 21st of March, 2022. From tomorrow, we're going to have the 48th OIC Council of Foreign Ministers Moot that is going to happen right here in Islamabad. And that is going to be the first segment as well as our second segment today. Pakistan has welcomed the delegates from the different OIC countries, the different Muslim countries from across the world who represent the OIC. And of course, a lot of foreign ministers have arrived in Pakistan. A lot are arriving. There are different ambassadors here. There are different international organizations also that are sending their representatives here. And that is going to be part of the OIC Moot. Pakistan is hosting this for the fifth time. In fact, the first time happened in 1970, then in 1993, 2007. And this is the fifth time that Pakistan is hosting the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers. A lot of important agendas are going to be discussed during this moot. A lot of important agreements will be signed as well. The theme of the session is partnering for unity, justice and development. The Prime Minister will also make a keynote address at the inaugural session. And of course, apart from Jammu and Kashmir and Palestine, there are going to be important policies that are going to be discussed during the course of this OIC Moot that include countering Islamophobia, recovery from COVID-19, diverse matters of peace and security, economic development, cultural and scientific cooperation, and revitalizing the role of the OIC. And of course, the follow-up of the extraordinary session that was held on the 19th of December 2021 is also going to be discussed. More after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and as we were telling you, our main segments today is going to be around the OIC 48th Council of Foreign Ministers meeting that is going to be held starting from tomorrow. But our two news stories that concern the world are also going to be part of this show. The first is the Yemen's Houthi rebels who have unleashed drone and missile attacks on Saudi Arabia early Sunday on a natural liquefied gas plant, water desalination plant, oil facility and power station. This was reported by the Saudi-run state media. And then our last news story is going to be worshippers at a dawn prayer in a suburb of Toronto, which happened, of course, at the Al Tawheed Islamic Center in Mississauga in Ontario. There was a man that came in the early hours and sprayed bear spray on the worshippers there, as a result of which there were some people that were injured, but of course no casualties, and thankfully no casualties that took place. As a result of that, the man has been arrested. Let's come to our first story, and that concerns the OIC Moot that is going to start from tomorrow. A lot of important personalities are here in Pakistan. More in the following report.
Pakistan is once again becoming the focus of global attention as the country has secured another feather in its cap by hosting 48th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. OIC, the second largest organization after UN with membership of 57 states, has a decorated history of protecting the interest of Muslim world in accordance with Islamic teachings and a roadmap devised for the collaboration and coordination in economic, scientific, cultural and other areas. Pakistan is passionately welcoming the foreign ministers and dignitaries converging in the capital, Islamabad, to attend the prestigious meeting. Vibrant theme of the meeting is justice, building partnership for unity, justice and development. Vividly illustrates the rationale behind formation of OIC, that is consolidating political, economic and social interests of Muslim world. 23rd March Pakistan Day Parade, another annual momentous event, has assumed greater significance this time as it will be witnessed by foreign ministers attending OIC meeting. Highlighting the significance of this meeting, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi emphasized that the meeting was expected to discuss Afghanistan, Kashmir and Palestine and other international issues including Islamophobia. Earlier, Pakistan hosted extraordinary session of the OIC's Council of Foreign Ministers on December 19 that was aimed at drawing world's attention towards the need to extend assistance to Afghan people. Being collective voices of Islamic Ummah, OIC can prove to be an effective platform to resolve the pressing issues of Muslim world.
Syed Muhammad Ali, who is a foreign affairs expert and a director of strategic affairs at CAS, joins us online. Ali, thank you very much to have joined us. We're seeing you after some time now. Ali, tomorrow is a very important day, and since the last few days, important personalities from across the Muslim world are arriving in Pakistan to attend the 48th session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC. How important do you feel is this moot in the current regional, global scenarios that are engulfing the world?
Thank you so much, Omar. I think this is a very important event which is taking place at a historic juncture in international politics. First off, OIC was established at the height of Cold War in the late 60s. So this particular 48th conference of the foreign ministers of OIC is being held at a very important time because the leaders of almost 57 countries, and most of them will have an opportunity to review not only the concerns of the Muslim world, but also
All right. So, as Syed Muhammad Ali was telling us, there are a lot of issues that
have a
confront the
discussion,
world.
a candid.
Yes. Yes, Ali, you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying that this conference is being held at a very important time because right now the world is witnessing some tumultuous changes in the world order, marked by the challenges to the status quo powers, by the resurgent and revived powers like Russia and China. So I think this is a very important opportunity for the foreign ministers of the second largest multilateral organization in the world after the United Nations to sit together and have a candid and comprehensive review of the circumstances and chart a course which allows them to have a common voice at all multilateral forums and also address the concerns and the regional issues that they face, particularly like Kashmir and Palestine and also Afghanistan. So this is very important because they will have an opportunity to see what new opportunities this new world order offers, and or should they align themselves with the status quo powers? Should they align themselves with the emerging powers? Or should they keep themselves non-aligned and form a bloc within themselves which reflects the sentiments of the Ummah and also the common interests of the Muslim world?
All right, Ali, when you look at the different questions that you just pointed out, the different options that are in front of the Muslim world and the countries that represent the OIC as to where they should do and how they should align themselves in the wake of the current global and regional scenario. You talked about the Cold War in the context of which the OIC began. There is another Cold War that is brewing as we speak amongst different nations. How important do you feel the role of the OIC becomes now? And here I put in the option of as an independent body that can move forward without any alignment whatsoever, a concrete alignment with other important world bodies so that they can represent the Muslim Ummah.
Omar, that is perhaps the most critical question that you have raised, because OIC was formed at the height of the Cold War, during a very intense strategic rivalry, a global rivalry between US and Soviet Union. And the sentiments, the popular expectations of the Muslim world were not adequately met by this forum, primarily because the Muslim world was divided in three blocks. Some were aligned with the US, some were aligned with the Soviet Union, and some were aligned with the as non-aligned movement. So they were not able to concentrate and consolidate their concerns, voices, and influence and leverages as a ummah. So that is a very valuable lesson that these foreign ministers should reflect, that whether the alignments and realignments of geopolitics offers them opportunity to address their concern, to raise it with the world powers, or to divide and weaken their
All right, Ali, on the one hand, we've got this very important move that is happening of the Muslim countries that represent the OIC. On the other hand, we have, as you've pointed out, and I've also questioned you about the different scenarios that are slowly swallowing the world and the regional geoeconomic and geopolitical situation. In all of this comes the theme of this 48th Council of Foreign Ministers OIC Moot, and that is partnering for unity, justice and development. Ali, unity, justice and development. That brings to mind what our Qaid also put, unity, faith and discipline. These were the 2 points that our Qaid also put forward many a times. How important do you feel also are the resolves that will be undertaken during the course of this 48th OIC Council of Foreign Ministers meeting as far as unity and justice is concerned?
I think again I'll reiterate these three are I think a very core objectives and interests of the entire Muslim Ummah, because that reflects the three main concerns of the entire Muslim world. We are not united, and we need to be more united at all bilateral and multilateral forums. And without unity, there can't be considered and concentrated and consolidated pursuit of justice, without which our concerns, our grave concerns vis-a-vis Kashmir, Palestine, and Afghanistan cannot be addressed. And the third part is development. The progress, the improvement of the quality of life of the Muslim world, and the stability and economic development will again depend upon not just the unity, but also their ability to chart a common concern, a common cause, so that they can recover from the exploitative geopolitical policies of great powers, and learn from that the great powers only exploit the Muslim world for their own interests, but never address their concerns. So is time a very important opportunity for in future. They should have not just unity, but also not allow great powers to exploit them, but also steer clear of geopolitics and try to chart a course that allows them progress, development, through an approach that Pakistan is currently advocating and spearheading, based on challenging the Western mantra and Islamophobia, but also promoting geoeconomics rather than geopolitics.
Now, Ali, the current government's resolve and our Prime Minister's resolve has been to thwart things out through negotiations, through talks, whether it be the crisis in Ukraine or other crises that engulf different countries of the world. In this current moot of the Council of Foreign Ministers, how important is also this need for the partner countries of the OIC, the member countries and those who will be hearing the different speeches, the different parts of this 48th Council of Foreign Ministers moot, to realize that fact that the only way to move forward is not through aggression or aggressive measures, but by negotiating and talking out the thorny issues together and work out a tangible solution.
Absolutely, Omar. I can't agree more. And I think it is also very important to realize that those countries which are trying to divide the Muslim world along ethnic sectarian lines, and those countries which are exploiting the Muslims, whether they are living in the occupied territories of Kashmir or Palestine, or those countries which are denying the sovereign right to benefit from their own funds in case of Afghanistan, we need to be very clear that these countries should
All right, there's of course, as Ali has pointed out, a need to understand each other and to sort out the thorny issues that exist between the different partners, the different countries, and also make other countries realize across the world that the only way forward for some kind of a tangible solution is negotiations and talks. Ali, one of the important topics that will be part of this moot is going to be Islamophobia. We are extremely proud of the fact that resolution that was backed by Pakistan under the forum of the OIC has been accepted and passed by the United Nations. How important is it for organizations such as United Nations also to work alongside the OIC and to work together when it comes to important issues such as Islamophobia?
Omar, it is very important for three reasons. Number one, because it was actually sponsored by Pakistan, and it was passed at the United Nations General Assembly. So that provides a compelling evidence that not just the Muslim world, but the entire international community looks up to Pakistan as a leader of the Muslim world. And that is an empirical evidence of that fact, that Pakistan was able to persuade not just the Muslim world, but the majority of the countries which are non-Muslim to understand and appreciate the concerns that the Muslim world have. And that is how Pakistan was able to get the support of the majority of the countries at the United Nations General Assembly to pass that resolution. Secondly, holding of this Foreign Ministers 48th conference in Islamabad at this point in time also provides an evidence that Pakistan is seen as a leader of the Muslim world, not just within the Muslim world, but also across the entire world. And that is a stature that Pakistan has acquired and earned through its wisdom, its foresight, and its ability to reduce the concerns and issue and also express and articulate them internationally.
All right, Ali, while on the one hand, of course, as you've just mentioned,
and
it is
reduce the
pertinent that the
misperception
countries
rather
work
than
together.
Muslim countries.
Yes, Ali, you were saying?
No, I was just saying that that actually is a consequence of the wisdom of our foreign policy and the long-standing principle that instead of taking sides within any unfortunate conflict or crisis between the Muslim countries, Pakistan has shown the maturity and the foresight to play a mediation, the role of a mediator in order to reduce these concerns, whether it was Iran-Iraq war, whether, and we have not taken sides within the issues, whether there are some issues between Iran and Saudi Arabia, whether there are issues related to other countries as well. We have always attempted to address these concerns and mediate in order to not only help promote stability within the Muslim world, but also reduce their concerns, rather than an unwise approach of taking side in an intra-Muslim conflict, which might not have useful benefits in the long run.
All right, one of the themes is also development and partnering for development, Ali. Now, within all of the gambits of the issues that confront us, whether it be geopolitical, geostrategic, or also pandemics such as COVID-19, the world, including the Muslim world, have been impacted by it. Do you feel a global united strategy could also be put forward by the countries that represent the OIC in order for the Muslim Ummah across the world to be safe under the umbrella of the OIC as far as trade, economy, future pandemics after COVID-19 and even this current pandemic that is not yet finished could be, dealt with in a proper manner and in a manner that does not really strain the economies of individual countries?
Umar, OIC, for the benefit of your viewers, has 3 subcommittees which have a dedicated focus on economy, on trade, on health, and on culture. So it is very important
All right. Of course, as you said, there are different subcommittees that pertain to trade, that pertain to economy, that pertain to culture, and that pertain to scientific cooperation also, that are part of the OIC. And we really hope that this Moot, the 48th meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC, that is going to begin from tomorrow in Islamabad, will move in the right direction as far as coming to solutions for the present and the future crisis that could engulf the Muslim countries and the Muslim Ummah is concerned. Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the OIC again, but of course in the whole context of the importance of the Kashmir issue, or the importance of the Afghanistan situation, and how important is it for the world, including the Muslim Ummah and the Muslim world, to focus on these very important issues. We, of course, we've heard from different quarters that the different issues that plague the Muslim world, whether it be Palestine, whether it be Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, whether it be Afghanistan, are going to be the key topics that are going to be discussed during this 48th meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC. At the same time, we also held an emergency session of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC on the 19th of December last year. That was extremely important in the current crisis that still Afghanistan is going through. Usama Nizamani, who's an analyst, joins us online. Usama, thank you very much to have joined us. Usama, Kashmir, Afghanistan, Palestine, three very important issues that confront the Islamic world. How important is it for the OIC and the Muslim Ummah to have a joint stance and to work together as one as far as these crises are concerned?
Thank you, Omar, for having me on the show. I think all these three different issues are quite different in their nature. While there is certainly a lot of similarity, you could see in the issue, the dispute of Jammu and Kashmir, and also that of the Palestine. But I think taking some progress from where we left in December, when a special meeting on the ongoing crisis in Afghanistan was held. I think it would be important to see how much progress is being made with respect to some of the commitments that were made in the last emergency meeting, especially with respect to the pledges that were made. And I think moving forward on Kashmir and Palestine, I think now there's a growing sense of convergence between these two issues, especially on the fact that ever since in 2019, when India actually revoked Article 370 and 35A, we saw that India started off with these systemic changes to bring about demographic change in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So that somehow has a closer relevance with what has been happening in, say, West Bank, and especially how Israel has attempted to, change the demography over there. And then, especially within BJP and RSS, there has been very, soft corner about some of these policies that were implemented there in West Bank. So, given how things are going on in Kashmir, I think it's important that a diplomatic stance that comes out to sort of signal that some of these measures that are being undertaken by India should be preempted. That's on the ideal side, but I think it would be very important for us to see closely how the overall diplomatic forum goes about it as it concludes the session in Pakistan.
All right, now Usama, in all of this context, I think all of it sort of stems from the fear of Islam, the fear of Muslims and Islamophobia, and a step in the right direction has been made by this resolution that has been now passed by the United Nations General Assembly. What needs to be seen is the implementation of that. When you see countries that do not want such resolutions to be applied in principle, whether it be India, whether it be countries in the European Union, how do you feel the countries that represent the Muslim Ummah, and of course in particular the countries that are part of the OIC, could influence or could pressurize or could bring those elements that are not favorable to issues such as Islamophobia or resolutions against Islamophobia, so that some kind of a joint statement, resolution or action could be taken by the world as one. Because if we continue and have different perspectives on it, on how to move about it or deal with it, there might not be a very aggressive approach to finding a solution, would there?
I think the most important thing that I see so far missing at this moment is the need to have a dialogue. I think what Prime Minister Imran Khan has also stressed quite consistently on this issue is that there's a need to have, instead of having a confrontation, there's a need to have dialogue. Just as we've seen quite recently, especially during the ongoing war in Ukraine, and given how the refugee crisis was onset as a result of it, an argument was built within the media itself. Do we have any good or bad distinction between refugees? Are refugees supposed to be seen under the rubric of being civilized or uncivilized? The same goes for hatred, any kind of distinction in terms of hate speech or in terms of hate crimes. Is there a good hate crime versus a bad hate crime? I don't think the international community or society at large should be making that kind of a distinction, irrespective of which that society is. So I think it's important to sort of build this case that if anti-Semitism is bad, so is Islamophobia, or for that matter, any kind of discriminatory attitude towards any religion, towards any kind of faith or belief, for that matter. So I think it's important to have more dialogue. What's important with respect to that is that the OIC, from what I may expect, is that a statement should encourage dialogue between different regions of the world, different societies. I think that is what should be coming out of it, to sort of help the communities where perhaps Muslims are in minority to understand how Islamophobia affects Muslims living within those societies. So dialogue, I think, is the most important thing that should be stressed as part of this forum going forward, to understand why we need to come together instead of pushing ourselves to the margin.
Or let you talk of pushing ourselves to the margin. Do you feel that in issues such as that plaguing Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir or Palestine, will the concerned parties that are the aggressors, in this case Israel and India, be willing to come to talks with representatives from the OIC in order to find out some kind of a solution that is agreeable to all the parties concerned?
I think to expect at this point in time that India or Israel, for that matter, would be expecting to engage with key members of the OIC would be slightly far-fetched. But then at the same time, I think what it really boils down to is how is Pakistan able to sort of use the diplomatic forum to kind of resuscitate these issues. I think it would depend on the kind of configuration that Kashmir finds within Pakistan's policies, especially its overall policy, that significance that it actually attaches to the dispute of Jammu and Kashmir also, and it actually really critically sees OIC as part of putting pressure on India to A, seize human rights violations, B, to have India become part of a serious dialogue to come to some sort of a resolution of the dispute itself. I think there are certainly partners that can play some kind of a role over here. Pakistan has very close relationship with Gulf countries, and being patrons of OIC, I find that perhaps if Pakistan is able to, come up with some kind of a proactive diplomatic approach with these countries, it would not be hard to rule out that some of these important partners with which Pakistan has a very key relationship can perhaps play some kind of a role. But to suggest that OIC as collectively could play some role, I don't see any possibility of that happening.
All right.
Well,
what about Afghanistan, Usama? What do you foresee as a possible role of the OIC to kind of find a solution? Firstly, in this time and space, of course, the humanitarian and economic crisis that is plaguing Afghanistan, and B, then finding some kind of a political strategy to deal with Afghanistan as a country that is ruled by the Afghan Taliban.
Okay, I think as for humanitarian assistance, there was already a lot of discussion that took place the last time when foreign ministers were over here in Pakistan. So I think it would be quite easier to sort of make some push in terms of progress on that. It would be important to see how much of an assistance has been provided in the past. It would be important to see assess how effective was such assistance in terms of averting the crisis in Afghanistan itself. I think we still have about 23 million people that are, facing this crisis, a threat from hunger itself. But then at the same time, you spoke about how should we go, or how should the OIC go about towards coming up with some kind of a consensus on dealing with the existing government in Afghanistan, that is the Afghan Taliban. I think it would be important for the OIC to sort of get itself into a serious assume a serious responsibility on itself to come up with some kind of a framework. The framework should have some kind of key denominators, which I think would help the OIC to evaluate how serious are Taliban in terms of meeting some of its international commitments that it gave prior to assuming power. What that could do is, I suppose, would help the OIC to determine how serious Taliban have been in meeting some of those commitments, especially with respect to human rights. The other challenge that is being seen in Afghanistan, especially under Taliban, is that the group does not seem to have any kind of strong central control across the country. As a result, you see local commanders coming up with different interpretation of Islam, with entirely localized policies that they see fit for their own areas. So as a result, I don't see that there's a complete consensus within the Taliban, or there's a uniform policy within the group to manage the country. That said, I think OIC, what it could really do is come up with some kind of a framework that could help the region, and especially the members of the multilateral body, to determine how effectively or how seriously Taliban has so far met some of its commitments that they've been making. I think what that would help us do is determine the group's seriousness towards that end. B, I see a possibility that with Afghanistan, and especially under Taliban, short of recognition, I think the regional countries, and especially OIC members, would continue to work with the Taliban short of any recognition extended to its government. But if there's some kind of a progress that needs to be made in serious terms, then I think OIC would need to become more proactive in coming up with some kind of a framework, which could help regional countries, say in South Asia, in Central Asia, and also extended countries, say in Africa or in the Far East, especially in Southeast Asia, to see and determine and evaluate whether any progress were made by Taliban.
Thank you so very much, Usama Nizamani, to have joined us and to have talked to us in detail and in a candid manner about how we need to approach different issues that confront the Islamic world and the non-Islamic world as well, by the Muslim world as one. Thank you very much, Usama. Let's come to our last two stories very quickly. The first, of course, is on the Houthis that have unleashed a barrage of drone and missile strikes on Saudi Arabia. This happened on Sunday, and it was also reported by the Saudi state media. There were damaged civilian vehicles, homes in the area, although there were no casualties, but there were, of course, other issues. And the strikes happened on a liquefied natural gas plant, a water desalination plant, an oil facility, and a power station. Four important, of course, points that were targeted by the Houthis. This is an ongoing issue, and also we hope that during this OIC Moot, issues such as this will be addressed by the Muslim countries, and some kind of a solution in this regard will be brought about. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's go all the way over to Canada, where worshippers at dawn prayer in a suburb of Toronto were tackled and subdued. A 24-year-old man who allegedly entered their mosque attacked people with bear spray on Saturday. Now, this happened in the Dar Al Tawheed Islamic Center in Mississauga in Ontario. The man, 24 years of age, just started to discharge bear spray on the people who were saying their Fajr prayers. Some of the men, of course, turned around and then decided that they were not going to let them further attack him, and of course they then confronted him and stopped him. They tackled him. He has been arrested since then. The police are still ascertaining as to the motives behind this accident. But when it comes to issues such like these, incidents such as these, we have seen a lot of this going around in the past few months, and it is time that organizations such as the OIC also tackle what we know as Islamophobia, this issue that pertains to the Muslim community of the world. Muslims need to be as one, and the OIC, inshallah, will be proving that in the next 2 days. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you, inshallah, tomorrow with news segments and stories, of course, with particular reference to the OIC. Take care. Allah Hafiz.